so awesome to be here. I am Brita Rosenheim. I think we're ready to get going. I'm the managing partner and co-founder of Vita, Vera Ventures. We're an early stage VC fund. We believe the future and the next frontier of climate tech needs to be about food. And what a perfect topic we have today. I'd love to let everybody just quickly introduce themselves, and we will jump into our conversation. JJ, let's start with you over at the end.
My name is John Jenkins. People call me JJ. I'm at Amazon. I'm the leader of the team that does just walk out technology stores. So all those sort of magical stores where you walk through a gate and we figure out what you took off the shelves and charge you correctly. That's what my team is responsible for.
Very cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Dombrowski. I work at Pinterest, and I am our head of CPG partnerships within the US. So I've been at Pinterest about 7 years and was at Google for 11 years before that, working on the advertising and media side.
Hey, everybody. I'm Ashley Trenier. I'm the founder and CEO of Farmbox RX. Farmbox RX created the food as medicine movement within healthcare.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ken Perkins. I work for Kroger. I lead e-commerce strategy, planning, and operations, which includes everything from thinking about what the next version of pickup or delivery looks like, as well as thinking about where we invest our money in technology.
So today we're going to talk about the dynamic future of food retail. I don't know if any of you saw it on the way in at the Vegas airport, but I spotted just walk out technology at the Vegas airport that was not Amazon Go or Amazon branded. It was a Hudson store, tech-enabled Hudson store. So it just blew my mind at how much we've come in just a few years. Obviously, a lot of this technology is years in the making, but from the consumer experience, we've had a huge transformation in recent years. 2019, before the pandemic, grocery shopping online was a pithy 3% of penetration in terms of total sales. The pandemic tripled that almost to 8% now, where I think we're at around 12% at the end of the year. So we're making strides. And 50% of Americans have shopped online in their lifetime. So huge transformation. And I'd love to hear from the audience with a show of hands, please. How many of you have shopped online for groceries in the last 6 months, or your families? All right, so I think we're better than the national average here. Keep your hand up if you've also shopped in-store in the last 6 months for groceries. It's pretty wild. So despite this penetration in online grocery, we're still seeing some preference for omni-channel. Consumers are looking for the perfect mix of convenience, of value, but they want it their way, and every person has their own impression of what that means. Today, we are so lucky to have these trailblazers at the forefront of shaping our own consumer shopping experience in the future. They're at the front lines, and I'd love to talk about the future of grocery in terms of omni-channel. It's a term, a buzzword that I think 2010 was invented, although it feels like it's been with us forever. It used to just mean have e-commerce capabilities. It was pretty basic. Some people still use it in the same way. But the true North Star for omni-channel is about true seamlessness, true frictionless in a consumer experience, regardless of the channel. And I'd love to start with Ken, talking about the journey that Kroger's had in omni-channel. They were one of the first omni-channel grocery providers. Can you talk a little bit about the evolution, the lessons learned in the early days of omnichannel, and how is that shaping how you're thinking about online grocery shopping and the mix between in-store, pickup, online in your daily job?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been interesting because things have become so much more complex, as you said, but seamless is really an important part of what we think about at Kroger. To us, seamless means allowing customers to shop without compromise or complexity in the experience in the context of their day. And that's easier said than done in terms of providing. And to your point, Brita, if you go back 10 years ago, most shopping and grocery was happening in stores. Pickup was emerging, probably the biggest online channel. Delivery obviously emerging, but still very small. And then the growth was obviously turbocharged with COVID. You had low interest rate environment for quite a while, and so you had a lot of innovation. You had a lot of different models coming out as everyone was trying to understand what would resonate with customers. We were obviously involved in that, and it was great, really great to get customers involved in omni grocery. But one of the big things that we learned was we almost went through a period of innovation overload, as I would call it. There were a lot of different models, a lot of things that we were throwing at customers, which is great. But then this seamless experience, what we realized is we were passing along complexity to the customer. By having too many offerings, that's actually not a seamless experience if you can't tie them together and help customers understand what they're getting. And so our big focus has actually been really focusing on the simplicity side of seamless. And to do that, we focus on three things. One is understanding our customers really well. Data helps a tremendous amount for that. And then understanding what their problems and needs are. The second one then is being really clear about what the value propositions we're putting out there actually solve for our customers. I think that innovation overload was probably putting many things out there, but not understanding what problem they all solved and how they did that in relation to other offerings. And then the last thing is really just the foundation of building flexible people, processes, and technologies so that when new opportunities come, we're ready to take advantage of them without passing that complexity along to customers. So very important for us to keep simplicity in mind when we think about seamless.
And in terms of the balance between in-store and pickup and online, how do you think about, 2024 versus 5 years from now? Do you see that shift continuing to change? Do you see it being interchangeable depending on where the customer is and how they're feeling that day? Or how are you guys seeing the shift between those three modes?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of shifting. I think after COVID initially, there were a lot of projections about grocery being pulled forward by 5 years, and that was definitely true to some extent. We saw a doubling of the industry. We didn't necessarily revert back to pre-COVID trends, but we also didn't see another doubling of e-commerce grocery experience. And actually, it was a surprise, I think, to a lot of the industry that in fact, customers like stores as well, like you all raised your hands. And so we really think about it as fluid shifting based on the context of a customer's day, where they're at, and we expect that will continue to happen. There will be these flows, but over time, we realize that the more customers engage with us with more channels, the more they spend with us, and the more we can get to know them better and offer experiences that add value to their lives.
Awesome. That's an awesome segue to go to Katie at Pinterest. Can you talk a little bit about how you coordinate with food retailers like Kroger or Albertsons? And how do you think about being a shepherd in the consumer journey towards purchase? And a quick question also that I'd love for you to answer. Are we going to ever be able to pin into a shopping cart, either IRL or digital? Is that the vision of the future? Or how do you think about your relationship both to the customer as well as the retailer?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer the last one. Right now, yes, you can do it. There's a lot of content on Pinterest today that when you engage with it, it can directly drop you into a cart from your retailer of choice, or if the retailer is working with us directly, it obviously directly links to their preferred shopping destination. So we do that today. It exists. And maybe I'll back up just a second before I go too deep. And for those of you that aren't super familiar with Pinterest, aren't heavy Pinterest users, Pinterest is a discovery platform, right? It's an app, it's a discovery platform that sits at kind of a unique intersection for consumers where it blends search, social, and shopping. And so kind of going upstream from what a retailer both retailers can provide to fulfill the final purchase, Pinterest really is an inspiration platform to kind of meet consumers, to get them to think about what product and brand and food service they might buy next. And so we work really closely with grocers, with food and beverage brands, because food and beverage, meal planning, entertaining is one of the top use cases on our platform. People are coming to Pinterest. Almost 500 million users globally are coming to Pinterest every month to get inspired across categories. And 75 million of them are coming specifically for the food and beverage and grocery category. So it's a massive use case. And specifically with retailers, just this week we released a case study where we partnered with Albertsons. Ken and I talked about this. We're doing lots of work with Kroger and lots of work with Amazon as well. But specifically, we released a case study where Albertsons is using some of their really interesting and proprietary data. They worked with Mondelez, Triscuit brand, to kind of bring Albertsons data into a clean room environment in LiveRamp to then say, hey, what's some really predictive information we have about shopping behavior? Let's then target those users on Pinterest when they're looking to be inspired, right? They're planning their next everyday meal, maybe just packing their kids' lunch, or maybe they're planning to host a big Super Bowl party. Let's target them on Pinterest. And the results were that the campaign like that increased sales for Triscuit and for Mondelez by 16%. So that's just an example. We just happened to kind of release it today of how we're partnering to bring our platform, which is to inspire and intercept people on their journey, together with retail data, which is so powerful, and try to make it a seamless experience for customers, whether they want to make an e-com purchase or just get inspired, put that brand in their mind to then make an offline purchase. And the last thing I'll say, I think is really interesting, on Pinterest, 97% of the searches that happen on our platform are unbranded, meaning people are truly coming to our platform in this open mindset. And while they might be looking to get a healthy snack for their kids or a fun, never done before appetizer for a party, they don't yet know what product or brand they want to purchase. And so it's a great opportunity. And we work a lot with grocers and with food and beverage brands to help them understand that that's the mindset our pinner is coming with. So how can they serve a message or content to then be most top of mind so that their brand resonates when people are looking for that category? So both Pinterest has really unique and proprietary first-party data and insights that we can bring to brands and grocers. And I think that the grocers and our brands have really interesting data. And when we bring those two things together, what we find is we can drive really strong sales results and brand results for our partners. So hopefully answered a couple of your questions.
Absolutely. And talking about the data that you have, how do you work with tech providers, with retail tech providers? Are they the glue in between you and the retailer? Are you working directly with the retailers in terms of their existing tech stack? How do you think about it?
It's the multi-billion-dollar question.
Okay,
and Ken and I were, talking. The truth is that there's no one way that Pinterest partners with a retail tech platform or even in the programmatic landscape. There's so many new ways. I mean, our Amazon partnership is unique. So I think each retailer and each platform we work with really uniquely. And that's, I think, because there's not a lot of standardization right now in how to bring data assets together. LiveRamp has been a really good partner for us to be like a clearinghouse and a little bit of a privacy safe zone to do both audience targeting and measurement. But truly the answer is it's a lot of testing. It's a lot of bringing particular brands and retailers and platforms together to see what's working and then trying to get data points to scale that over time. But it kind of goes back, Ken, to your point about innovation's happening so fast and capabilities are happening so fast that I think we're all trying to innovate quickly to then hopefully a couple years down the line make these things more seamless and a little bit more scalable. But the truth is I don't think we're there yet. But it's still fun. I feel like we're all learning a lot and there's great data across our ecosystems. And I think people are empowered and excited to work through the muck to make that work. So.
Agree. And I as I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of this technology has been decades in the making. But the tangible excitement that we feel now is because we're actually seeing the consumer adoption, we're seeing the retail adoption, we're seeing it move, but yes, still some bottlenecks in terms of that pure vision of seamlessness. Ashley, would love to turn to you. I think generally when you talk about omni-channel grocery shopping, I think most of the stats show that most consumers choose to purchase fruits and vegetables, fresh foods at the store versus online, and they do a lot of their commodity shopping online. Obviously, 100% of your customer base would fully disagree with that. So love that. Love that you're opening up that channel for fresh and produce. How would you talk a little bit about your unique model, who you're targeting, what the additional channel that you bring to omni-channel is in terms of partnership, which, spoiler alert, is the healthcare system, and how do you use technology to deliver in a different way than exists in other platforms?
So in 2020, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid said that health plans would be allowed to offer food and produce as a benefit to their members. And so what that really signaled was that the government was starting to look at whole person care, Why does somebody have type 2 diabetes? Why does somebody have hypertension? And how can we use healthcare spin to try to reverse that? And so what they did was they said, if you have one of 19 chronic conditions, you qualify under SSBCI to use your supplemental benefit dollars for food and grocery. So think things like dental, vision, hearing. These are all supplemental benefits. And what they've done is they put these benefits on a card. And so healthcare is really moving to a card platform where everything will be housed on a card. So now, if you're, 65 plus, you're on Medicare, maybe your health plan gives you $300 a month and says you can purchase OTC items, things like Advil, NyQuil, things like that, diabetic socks. You can also use it for grocery. You could use it at a retail location. You could use it on FarmboxRx.com. And so when you think of people who are food insecure, they lack a few things. They lack accessibility, affordability, and also education of knowing what to do with healthy food. So you have to solve those three issues in combination. Then you take it a little bit step further. If you have SNAP and EBT dollars, just recently SNAP and EBT went online, where if you live in a food desert, you're food insecure, you lack access to a grocery store. Up until a few years ago, you could not use those SNAP dollars online. You had to be at a point of sale. And so now when you have the ability to combine your supplemental benefit dollars, your SNAP and EBT dollars, and you can use those online, you start to really address the underlying health that plagues individuals, right? And taking that even one step further, if you think of someone that's maybe on Medicaid, right? If they are lacking food, they're lacking food right now. They don't have time to wait for 30 days to go through the system and somebody, send them a card. They need to have accessibility to those funds immediately. And so that's really what having the online, channel for FarmboxRx and why we've only been an online retailer is we really work to eradicate food deserts and to also empower people to have food delivered directly to their home, into the comfort of their home.
Can you talk a little bit about the customer experience, the customer journey on Farmbox, just to give a three-dimensional understanding of how does an individual get in?
So you have to have a supplemental benefit card and able to use the OTC network. So if you ever go check out at like a CVS or even a Walmart, I actually think you take at Amazon the OTC card, you can use that card on FarmboxRx. You can also use SNAP and EBT on FarmboxRx as well. So you have those dollars, you're able to pick whatever it is that you're wanting to buy. You have the dignity of choice, right? So I'm not one for saying, if you're on SNAP or you're using your supplemental benefit dollars, you can only buy these things. You have to give somebody the dignity of choice of figuring out what they want to purchase. It can be produce, it can be dry goods, it can be lean proteins, chicken, fish, things like that. And then you're also, we provide education, health literacy in every single box, because you may not know what to do with a beet that comes in your box, right? Because you've maybe lived in a food desert and you've never had a beet. We've had people call in and say, you sent me tiny coconuts. I don't know what to do with these tiny coconuts. And we're like, we don't ship coconuts. What is a tiny coconut? It's a kiwi, right? They've never seen a kiwi. So giving people the dignity of choice of being able to pick their own foods, having it delivered to what we like to call the delightful referable moment of into their own home, leads them to take the self-efficacy journey into their own health.
That's awesome. Thank you. Turning down to JJ. JJ, he didn't give himself enough credit in his intro. He's been a pioneer on the food tech scene for most of his career, including at Pinterest. You have a unique vantage point of the industry, so we're looking forward to hearing your perspectives. But specific to the Just Walk Out technology, do you see that as integral to an omni-channel experience currently? Is that the building blocks for the future of omni-channel? How does Just Walk Out kind of play into the future plans of Amazon's retail footprint, as well as other retailers, as we mentioned. We're seeing Hudson leveraging that for their own use case as well.
Yeah, I'll expose you to the walking contradiction that's me. So when I joined Amazon in 2004, my job was optimizing content on the homepage of Amazon to get more people to buy online. And now here I am in 2024, 20 years later, building a system that's trying to get people to go back into physical stores to shop in the real world. So Amazon's funny like that. You can do sort of a full 180 and find yourself doing sort of the opposite thing that you were doing a while ago. But the way Just Walk Out came about is Amazon's always focused on these sort of long-term bets, right? Like we try not to do short-term thinking. And so when we thought about the physical store world, we said, well, what's the worst part about shopping in a store, right? And like, why would you choose not to go there? Well, often it's the line, right? And if you look at history, right, in 1924, people hated standing in line. In 2024, they hate standing in line. In 2124, they will hate standing in line, right? They hate standing in line in the US. They hate standing in line in the UK. They hate standing in line in Australia. And so if you go focus on solving a problem like that extends beyond time and beyond physical place, right? You can take the time to do something new and significant. And that's how we came up with it. So as we think about omni-channel, we're not necessarily trying to drive people to one place or another. I think what we would sort of claim is that convenience will drive people to shop wherever it is that they're going to shop, right? Online is convenient. Can we make the physical world more convenient, right? The way my team does that at Amazon is we've built this Just Walk Out technology, which uses some cameras on the ceiling and some computer vision and some shelf sensors to create this frictionless checkout experience. And you'll find it in more than 120 third-party stores around the country. So there's 2 stores at the Las Vegas airport. If you live in Boston, you can go to TD Garden. If you're in Chicago, you can go to the United Center, all over the world. And I have a peer at Amazon who's working on smart carts for grocery stores, right? So the idea there is, okay, if you have a big trip, and you don't want to just run in and run out real fast, but you want to see your total as you go, and you want to be able to look up where a thing is in a store. Like, that's also a way to make it more convenient. So I'm not good at predicting the future, generally speaking, but the one thing I will claim is that I think the experience or the grocery of the future, the one word you can count on being there, whether it's the stuff Ken's working on or I'm working on or the rest of us are working on, is that it will be more convenient, right? And to the extent that we can make shopping in physical grocery stores more convenient or online, right? Like, we will make the world a better place for the people that need to buy food for their daily lives.
Mic drop. I think it's a good segue to a survey I recently saw. I think it was by Grocery Dopio that said almost 3/4 of U.S. grocers predict that AI will be part of their tech stack in 2025, which I thought was astonishing, given and very optimistic, given that most of these grocers, present company excluded, probably don't have any AI today, or certainly didn't even a year ago. So very optimistic. Love it. For me, when I think about AI in the food system, specifically in grocery, I think about profitability. I think about waste reduction. I think about kind of how can you meaningfully move the needle in the operations of the business. I'd love to hear from all of you. How are you thinking about AI within your own business, if applicable? Where are you allocating your AI budget in 2024? And I'll start with you.
Yeah, AI is obviously a big topic today, but I would say Kroger's been working on it for a while. You don't always think of it. Kroger is an AI leader, but definitely to your point, everything that we're doing, we're trying to think about how we embed our customer data and use it to create a better experience and to be more productive throughout the supply chain. We think about it in a few ways. There's a couple ways would be the front end experience. So when a customer goes to their site, how do we use AI to have the search algorithm produce more contextually relevant results based on not only who that customer is, but what they're actually looking for in that particular session. So that's one. There's obviously when an item is out of stock, how do you offer the most relevant substitute product for a customer? So there's a lot of those front-facing things. And then
which I don't think any of us have seen exist on online grocery yet. Is that relevant substitution? We're working our way towards it, but that seems to be a
it's gonna
very
need
difficult
AI,
thing to do.
It's going to need the power of AI to solve.
Yeah.
The other kind of, I would say, compartmentalized areas on the supply chain side. So in the picking operations, how do you optimize a warehouse or routing, the last mile logistics? That's the other area. The area where we get really excited, but I would say this is down the road, is how do you actually have AI sitting above all of that and almost governing to a larger extent what you're showing customers based on what we might know about what's going on in our supply chain, or changing our supply chain based on what we're optimizing on the front end for customers. So an example might be if we know that we have excess inventory of certain items that are perishable products, maybe we're not just optimizing a picking process, but we actually have systems that are communicating and offering customers a better experience, better value, so that we can reduce food waste. And so I think that connection between all the compartmentalized AI systems throughout the customer experience and the supply chain is where we see a lot of opportunity.
Fantastic. Anybody else want to take it?
I think it's important to talk about a little piece of what FarmboxRx does. So we are not just food, we are a member engagement company. So Farmbox, if you're a member of a health plan, you receive one of our boxes, there's a call to action in that box where we are asking you, or your health plan is asking you, to go do something. Maybe it's get your mammogram, get your diabetic eye exam, get your flu shot. And so if you do that, you'll get another box. It's how we continue down the path, right? You're showing that you're taking self-efficacy journey in your health for your health plan, and that drives profitability for the health plan. All of those measures equal bonus premiums to the health plan. So what we're using AI for is we basically get a ton of data on our members, and we had to become high trust in order to process this data. And what we've done is we've created a model, and we're using that model to create a customizable health journey for that member. We're able to look and say, okay, we were able to move the needle and get 30% more members to go get their mammogram because we sent this box, and this box had this health literacy inside of this box. And even taking that one step further, eventually we're going to turn into just a data company, because we will use our model for public health modeling. Basically, at the end of the day, I can figure out what your health is by your zip code better than anything else.
Awesome.
Do you want us all to take it?
I would love it.
AI is the topic du jour, so hopefully we can all shed some light. So, and JJ worked on this, so he can always chime in on how much it's changed since he's been at Pinterest. But Pinterest has hundreds of billions of images on the platform. And I would say, the whole premise of the platform has been, how do we use image recognition and machine learning models and AI generation to better serve a personalized experience to each user on the platform? And so the three things we're using AI for, which we have been, but I think it's really clearly on our roadmap this year and going forward, is one, for every user that opens up the platform, how do we accelerate and use even more advanced processing units to make sure that the images that each user sees is relevant to not just what they've saved or engaged with in the past, but is predictive about what they might be interested in the future. If they've created a board on meal planning, is the next board how to reuse leftovers, right? How do we start to be predictive and give content that's based on all the images that we have on the platform? The second way that AI is really being used today is in generating, I was going to give 3 examples, but I'm already thinking the third. The third I know is in our advertising solutions. So as we're building more advertising capabilities for partners, food brands, retailers, we're thinking about how to use things like being able to dynamically create new ad creative, right? So let's say Kroger uploads a catalog with a bunch of product SKUs. They're pretty boring for a pinner, right? A pinner comes onto the platform and they just see a bottle of ketchup on a white background. Pinterest has a lot of data on each user on, does that pinner want to see that bottle of ketchup on a table serving next to chicken nuggets? Does that pinner want to see that bottle of ketchup maybe on a side table with a Corona next to it? So I think Pinterest is thinking about how do we use our AI capabilities in generating more new content and dynamic content for advertisers. And there was a second, but I'm totally forgetting. So
That's an
I'll let
awesome
JJ
example.
share.
That's actually not something that I had considered is kind of real-time dynamic ad content, and especially if you have that naked bottle of ketchup, you can actually place that anywhere. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, and it's at such a scale, right? This is why this technology is it's at such a scale that no one's going to do it manually, but we all know that it could really help, like increase relevance and purchase intent and all that stuff. So, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI, no doubt, will be transformative. The question is how do we use it to make that transformation good, right? As you heard a couple of us say, right? Well, the first thing you need is AI needs to operate on data, right? And we've been working on that for Just Walk Out for years. Like we had to train this crazy system, if you can imagine it. Cameras are watching the shelves and figuring out what people take off and put back on the shelves, right? It takes enormous amounts of data. And so we actually had to use generative AI techniques to generate sort of synthetic videos of people putting and taking things on and off shelves to then train the algorithms that figure out what comes off the shelf. So this weird circular using AI to train AI thing is the important part. But ultimately, the AI is only useful if it works, right? Like my customers expect their receipt to be correct 100% of the time, right? An AI system that gets it wrong 5% of the time isn't going to fly. And that's true for all the applications that we're building. If it spits out nonsensical answers or the wrong answers, users very quickly learn to distrust the AI. And so I think that's probably the challenge for all of us over the course of the next couple of years, is to figure out how do we apply these new machine learning techniques, AI models, et cetera, in a way that allows us to get the value out of them without looking, I don't know, stupid along the way, for lack of a better word. We're lucky that we get to use a bunch of the tools that are on AWS to do that. So AWS offers us a bunch of different models that we can use and a bunch of different platforms that we can use to build on. And that's what we've used to build the Just Walk Out technology system. And I think those models will mature really rapidly. And I think there's some really cool things that are going to come out of it. Improving store layouts, helping people find the things they want, helping store owners to better understand what the products are that people want on the shelves, et cetera. Really, the possibilities are kind of endless.
It's a good segue to my next question. Just thinking about kind of the journey of the consumer over the last 10, 15 years, we've seen retailers asking consumers to do more, bag their own groceries, they're bringing their own receipts, they're scanning their own items. But with AI and automation, we have the opportunity to serve the customer better in a more seamless way. For example, we have LAMs, large action models, that can have the potential to automate whole processes. So you could use an LAM to organize your entire grocery shopping trip end to end, with all of the items and your delivery choices based on your availability, your calendar, your preferences, your previous preferences. I'd love for you all to, in the last couple minutes, talk about what is your vision for the future in the next 5 years. Is the term "I'm going grocery shopping" going to be obsolete, or do we still have more of the same but just better? We can go down the line, or anybody can jump in.
I don't know.
Looks
maybe
like JJ
I'll
wants
jump
to
in on this one a little bit because I have sort of strong feelings here. And I think all of us are focused on this. Like at Amazon, right? We claim to be like the Earth's most customer-centric company, right? And I think this is an area where, especially in grocery shopping, retailers haven't necessarily been thinking that way over the last several years, right? There's an explosion in self-checkout, right? Which now some people are retreating from, right? That was really taking the retailer's problem, I can't afford to staff checkouts, or I don't have enough checkouts, in making it the customer's problem, right? You do the work, right? And that's where we took a fundamentally different approach with the Just Walk Out technology and our Dash carts, is to say, hey, we're just going to make the problem go away, right? Instead of transferring the problem around. And so, I certainly hope that we bring more people back to stores, because I think the interactions that people have with the store associates are really great interactions. Like you can find out that the thing is not a mini coconut in the store, right? And that it is a kiwi and it's delicious, right? And so bringing people back to stores and then getting those associates into roles where they're out interacting with customers instead of stuck behind a cash register are things that can really transform the shopping experience and bring a lot of life back to it.
I was going to add, we tend to think about what does the future look like, but also what do we think is going to stay the same. And we try to get that right. And there's a few that I think everyone's kind of touched on here that we think about. One is that people generally don't like to waste their time. That will always be true. And I think that the idea that shopping is a chore will be something that people don't like wasting their time. They don't want it to be a chore. The other one is health. People really care about their health. And then the third one is that people really enjoy the process of learning and discovery when it has to do with food. There's a human element of we eat with our families and with our friends. And so I think to JJ's point, it's like there's an opportunity for us where how do we take the chore out of the experience so that it becomes more of an experience. And that's the human touch, that's the discovery, whether it's digital on Pinterest or learning about different foods on different websites or in the store. And so we think over time it's going to become much more experiential, engaging people so that you ask not so much, is shopping relevant to me, but what makes it exciting for me?
I think from our take over the next 3 to 5 years, it's really important for us, and we created this space within healthcare, but it's proving out this model of ROI, right? Because we can't mess it up because food is so new within the healthcare, budget and spend. That's number one. That's why we have attributed our product to driving health plan members to go get other, things like their mammogram, their diabetic eye exam, their flu shot. What's really interesting for me right now is looking at the healthy food trend, especially when you start to think about GLP-1s, because we're starting to see now that junk food sales are starting to go down because there's so many people going on GLP-1s. So I think for us, it's figuring out, making sure that the ROI is there so that food doesn't go anywhere within healthcare, right? We share all of our data back with all of our plans that we work with, and also figuring out how we navigate the next few years with the introduction of GLP-1s within our product as well.
I guess I'll try to wrap by saying one of the things I think we're all saying too is grocery, food, and beverage shopping is a place where we believe like the human and the technology is going to be linked for a very long time. There's probably not a time where this space is going to be completely digitized. And I think Pinterest uniquely is trying to be a pioneer in our industry and in the social media and sort of discovery space in saying, how can we best use technology for good and have a positive human experience? And so one of the things we're doing is using, to JJ's point about both using machine learning and AI models, also allowing for more human intervention, right? On Pinterest, it's not just our AI models on the images, but then humans and pinners are curating that and they're putting a label. They're saying, for me, this product is a recipe for the weeknight. For me, this product is a recipe for a special occasion. And so the more we can really lean into like the human curation and the human signals that we're getting to then make sure that the output of our models are right and are appreciated. And in grocery and food shopping, one of the things we want to do to make it more seamless and make it more pleasurable and enjoyable and kind of bring that positivity and joy back, right? Because whenever we do something and check it off our list, it feels really good. And Pinterest wants to get people off their phone and actually taking action in the real world. And so one of the things we believe is on our roadmap is if you're pinning and saving all this content around things you want to make or recipes you want to create for your family, can we quickly turn that into a generated board that then gives you kind of a served on a platter, pun intended. Here's what you're interested in, here's the inspiration you've kind of shown us, here's how to then take your next step and turn that into a shopping visit, whether that's digital or in store. So look to us to kind of innovate in this space. And I think bringing that human and technology together is something that has to be a focus for all of us because we know that the human side of it is going to keep us from probably generating content that is less positive, and we have all had experiences with that. So,
yeah, I think that's the other piece is there's lots of things to be excited about, but there's also a number of concerning things with the rise in AI around content generally, but also around food. And food is a tactical experience. It's a personal experience that everybody has, and it's part of your human experience. And so I think if we lose that, then we're at risk of losing our humanity to some extent. So that there has to be the balance. But I think we're out of time now. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and definitely stick around for the next panel, which is going to be a great one. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.